Okay, good morning, Kalimera. Welcome to the Yereskipu launching canal, also known as a hole in the weed that we dug with the JCB to launch the dragon boat. Anyway, technical drills. Moving on from what we originally spoke of in relation to the front end pause and the swan or the weightlifter drill. This segment, we still need to be working on catch. Now, I'm not just going to be leaving you hanging with technical drills. I'll be backing up with session plans as well that work with single boats, outriggers and dragon boats, crew boats as well. So just bear with me on that. Working the catch. This drill is called the skim or the feather. It comes from Dave Bangs in Liverpool and Amathus, but I think the origin of it is to do with the rowers, and you see the way rowers, when they feel the blade above the water and drop it and they just skim forwards. It's that sort of activity. So if I just walk through it first. Now we go back further than we would normally. As I say, with technical drills, sometimes you're actually extenuating or extending the range of something you wouldn't normally do just to identify a particular point. Just bear with me on this. So the skim starts from the back, skims forward, blade in contact with the water all the time. My power face of the blade, or the power face of my blade, has got the frog on it, Union flag facing down. So power face is up, it skims forwards, loose hand here, I'm not forcing it, skims forwards, turns at the catch, drops, drives through, all the way through to the hip, and then we just let it run past the hip into the paddle trail position. The important thing is to learn and know that position there. That's why we go look. Skim it forwards, drop, drive, power off, skim it forwards, drop, drive. You can always tell when somebody is starting their power phase too early, because when they do this drill, what they do from a coaching perspective is they skim up and down, because that's their default position to start power on at that point. So this is a good drill for timing, technique, lots of things, but the thing we're focusing on here, right now, is dropping on the catch, driving, starting the power, and the power phase, the workspace from that catch point, blade fully buried under load, all the way through to the hip, and then let the power come off, let it just track backwards. And what you're looking for is to build that wall of water. Okay, two further points to think about. One concerns the skim drill, one concerns power circles. It occurred to me this morning out in the K1 that this might be quite relevant. Skim drill. Now, when you're skimming forwards, obviously we've said you let it run past the hip, but the skim section of it, let it skim forward just with light pressure pushing down on the water. Even if you've got a bit of chop in the water, you don't want to be forcing it. Just let it nicely skim through in contact with the water, and then drop it, load it, drive the boat forwards, okay? Obviously remember not to lift and press down, okay? We do want a powerful touchdown, but this part of the drill just concentrates on what's going on at the catch. Drop it, load it, drive it, okay? Light pressure is all you need. Makes a nice sound as well, okay? That's a skim drill. The second thing I was thinking about, power circles. It's a kayaking concept. It really is quite relevant to what we're doing on, and it's something I use in kayak and in single boat as well. Power circles. There are a number of power circles going on. Tension and compression forces. Have a think about this one. There's one going on vertically, and it consists of, once the blade is locked on the front end, the drive with the leg, through the hamstrings, through the quads, into the hip, up through the shoulders, and back again. It's a vertical power circle. Tension and compression going on through the stroke. It's not tension all the way, it's not compression all the way, it can't be, because that's not the way muscles work, okay? So, and in the same way, and that's really why we don't compress on the drive phase and then compress on the recovery, okay? There's an equilibrium to it as we go through. Okay, so there's a power circle going on here, and really you don't have to know the names of the muscles to know what's going on. When you're powering up, when you're driving through, you know what's going on, you get to know that feeling. So there's your vertical power circle going on there. Another one, and it does work also, obviously in kayak, then you're driving on the paddle side. It does also work if your tradition tendency is to drive with your offside leg. It just means the power circle is a little bit more at a slight angle, but it's still going on. And there's pros and cons for that, as we've mentioned previously, in terms of stability or outright power. I use both, as it happens. and even when I paddle both legs forwards, I have a leading leg. So we'll discuss that one later on. The other power circle is your shoulders. So one's here, one's vertical, and one's the tension and the compression going on as we come forward, and that's more of a horizontal affair. Like I say, you're not rigid all the way through. You can't possibly do that. You won't achieve it. And in fact, if you're too rigid, you'll be fighting yourself, fighting the paddle, fighting the boat, fighting the water. Not a really great idea. So you've got to work with these forces and have a think about how I'm pushing, compressing, when I'm tense, when I'm powering on, what exactly is going on in the shoulders in terms of pushing down, at what point it releases, how I'm recovering, setting up again. So even though it is intended, when it was devised for the kayak stroke, my take on it is dragon boating, single boat paddling in this form is essentially one half of a kayak stroke. So the forces are still relevant, except after the drive phase, it's a single big recovery and setup rather than a shorter recovery and drive down. But that recovery still takes place. So the way I use this, and we'll speak more about this when we meet up in person, is I'll go out and do a session. So I may do, the lake here at Maverick Olympos is a mile round, so I might do one circuit where I'm concentrating 20 strokes, just concentrating on this power circle, thinking about the feel of how the power is developed, and then 20 strokes concentration on this. I'm not going light on the other side, I'm just focusing on that. And then I put it all together. So I might do a 60 stroke piece, 20 concentrate on the vertical power circle, the locomotion, 20 strokes thinking about the dexterity, the flexibility around the shoulders, how I'm finding that shape, and then 20 strokes power up, full on, full speed, full commitment. That sort of thing. Okay. Okay, drill number 2 is what I used to call the steam hammer, and now I call it building the wall. Same sort of thing, just getting that blade loaded at the front, maintaining the pressure, the force, all the way through to the back. But I'm talking now about what you catch, you keep. So this is really building, moving on from both the swan and the front end pause, and in fact the skim. And once we've got that catch pretty much sorted out, we're loading all the way through. It's done at a very slow rate. When I say slow rate, I mean 40 to 45 strokes a minute. And the tendency will be when you do it, same as with the feather skim, people tend to ramp it up, slow it all down, so you really get to understand and feel how you're generating the catch, how you're producing the power, and where it's coming from. And you're giving your various muscles time to find that shape before you're rushing through. So, obviously catch point, the workspace is catch point, power point to the back end. Now we're building up to working off the back end. If we just paddle and release, that's fine. We can generate some real force there. But what I'm now moving towards doing is power all the way through and spring it off. Power, spring it off. Power, spring it off. Now I've measured this on the data paddle, and I can generate another third of my body power from that front end, the back end of the stroke. So rather than just popping out and moving forward, I'm generating some extra lift, some drive from the back end as well. It's quite anaerobic, it's quite taxing mentally and physically, but like I say, good technique takes time. People say technique is free speed. It's not actually free at all. It takes time to generate, hundreds if not thousands of hours to work on, and then when you've got a half decent technique, you need to maintain it. So there's nothing free, but once you've got it, it will accentuate or add to whatever speed and power you're generating in the boat individually or as a crew. So again, extracting really slowly, drop it, load, power through, really slow, extract, draw and point, load it all the way through. Because if you overcook it and you start putting load on that blade when it's negative, then the boat is going down. So whatever power you put on at the front, you take off at the back. That is not what I'm suggesting. It's a discipline thing. Up, over, lock it on, power all the way through to the hip, but then we spring off the hip, activate the hip to move forward, draw a point, load all the way. Okay, it's got to be done slowly. It's got to be done slowly because I think about that setup. keeping these hands in the right position, keep that wrist slightly cocked to keep it strong rather than allowing it to roll and let the blade slip. It works for outrigger as much as it works for dragon boat, and no reason why not. So locating the blade again, powering all the way through, trying to keep that positive through to neutral, and then it will track back negative at the end. But that's the phase at which we're levering off, we're pushing off. So we're building the wall and springing off the wall. Building it, springing it off, okay? But we've got to have that pressure, constant pressure on the blade to start with, otherwise we're springing off nothing, okay? It's a building block, it's a component part. Building wall, but it's an artisan building wall. It's just not some rubbish builder, slapdash, putting something together. You build it brick by brick, precision, and we've got further drills coming up that accentuate power point, catch point, springing off the back, and other aspects of the stroke as well. Have you seen Field of Dreams? Well, here's me in the Paphos version, in amongst not corn, but bananas. Lots of bananas in Paphos. Anyway, if you like what we're doing, please subscribe. Please show us you love us. Subscribe to the channel, Gross Paddling Happiness. Click on the notifications bell so you don't miss a new video when we post. Comments always welcome. Feedback is a gift, and I always say feedback is a gift that makes you great. So please tell us what you like. Tell us what you like less. Tell us how we can improve. And if you know something we don't, tell us as well, because that way we all improve together. Have a great day, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon.